I'm looking more at the decisions of the squad building. And like I said, I can't get past this thing. Forget Kobbie mainly for a second. You've taken our best player, right, who needs to be playing closest to the goal in Bruno Fernandes. And some people don't even think he's our best player and haven't liked him for ages. Okay, that's fine. I'm just going to speak from my opinion. Our best player, and now he's almost the biggest scapegoat, half rightly so, because, listen, what he did yesterday was absolutely shocking. Complaining after the thing about the referee bumping into him and then coming out publicly and saying that. Bruno, I always back you. What are you doing? What are you doing? That is just awful. Then his actual performance, you know, there was a point where he stopped the ball dead and was pointing where he should pass it. I think Muniz just nicks in and takes the ball from him. There's the goal that we conceded. Dallo, yes, I'll get there, etc., etc. But not going with Urana. Smith Rowe, he starts in front of Smith Rowe. Smith Rowe is not the quickest, if you've ever seen him play football. Takes a casual trot in a straight line, completely runs past Bruno. Why? Because Bruno should not be playing in a two-man midfield as a six. He's not disciplined enough to do that job. He's not, especially with the partners that we have.
I think with the Bruno stuff, to be fair, I mean, like you said, I know the whole thing about, you know, he will be the, you know, scapegoat and what have you. But I thought yesterday, it was entirely justified, you know, with Bruno. People been, because, you know, that yesterday was for me the antithesis of a captain's performance. Him coming out, oh, the ref bumped me or whatever. Mate, who gives a shit if the ref bumped into you? Score the penalty. And then after that, he lost his head for the rest of the game. You know, like you said, he's pointing and moaning and then losing the ball. And then at different points, he was doing the thing where he then started going down for a bit and rolling around because he's now annoyed and getting angry and giving the ball away or what have you. And what really alarmed me was after the game when Amorim was talking about that and Kobbie, he was effectively saying, well, Kobbie's competing with Bruno, so that's why he's not going to get on the pitch.
Biggest red flag ever.
Because Bruno's undroppable. And that's when you go,
Kobbie may as well go now. There's a week left.
I mentioned this several weeks ago because he mentioned it and he explained why he liked Bruno playing in like the 8 or the 6, whatever you want to call it. And he basically said, I like Bruno there because if he plays in the 10, he's all over the place. He's all over the pitch and he maybe lacks the discipline to do that. And like you said, for me at the time, I was like, that's an even bigger red flag. That's the same reason that I've said for years that I don't think Bruno can play as an 8 because I don't think he's disciplined enough to play as an 8. So Ruben's going, I don't think he's disciplined enough to play as a 10 because he's all over the pitch. That's the exact same reason we're saying he can't play as an 8 because he's all over the place and he doesn't lack the discipline to like, all right, now's not the time to do crazy passes or now's not the time to be trying to force stuff. Now's not the time to be doing that. So I was like, well, that's an even bigger red flag. And if we're now working with this idea that because he's Bruno Fernandes, because he's the captain, even if he's stinking out the joint, he can't be taken off. But then what are we doing? Like what we doing?
Oh, we're back to where we was. We're back to where we was.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not, and that's not saying, you know, that what you're saying, get rid of Bruno, should have cashed in 100 million. It's just saying that if we're going down the route of, regardless of how badly he's going to play, he can't come off. That's what we said the problem was under Eric, wasn't it? Of, well, he's never going to come off because he can create something out of nothing. And yesterday he stunk up the joint. And then also after that, as great as his leadership qualities can be, yesterday was not a display of leadership from him. It just wasn't. It just wasn't.
It's literally what Common Pence says there. Mainu is fighting for a place where a 10 is playing who can't play the centre mid role. Like, it's actually that. Like, I tweeted it yesterday. I goes, hold on a minute. Bruno, the manager's saying that Kobbie is competing with a place with Bruno, and Bruno's not even playing in his proper position, and is not a central midfielder. And Mainu, listen, and won't get dropped. And also, you could argue that Mainu in this system also doesn't work. Well, then you know what? If that's the case, then you may as well just sell Bruno. If you're trying to play him like this, he's gonna be null and void in this system. And listen, I don't do the blinkers thing. People will disagree on Bruno loads. You know, I'm a staunch defender of Bruno because I do think he's a very good player, but not in this position. You know, and that comes with caveats. Even when he's in his favoured positions, you're always going to get Bruno-isms. He's been playing here, 5 years now, going on 6. We know Bruno inside out. We know what he's going to do versus what he's not going to do. What you definitely can't do is be naive enough to think that in this system, in this league, you can take Bruno Fernandes from the 10 position where he's most effective and put him on an island in a 2-man midfield. Because then when the Bruno-isms happen, they're even more extenuated. So I'm not ridding Bruno of this responsibility because he's not. That was shocking. Shocking from him yesterday. Like, that's not even the manager's thing. That's Bruno. You're a top-level pro. How is he running past you? That's on you. But also, he ain't gonna be able to play in that position. So guess what? Sell it. You don't like Ugarte, who's your old guy. Casemiro, you're playing more and more often. You don't like Kobbie. You've told us that Mason Mount now can play back in there just because he can run. What does that look like? What's Mason Mount going to do in there? What's Mason Mount going to do in central midfield? All right, he can run around. That's it. That's it. He's got a decent football brain. Not in the 6 or 8, whatever the hell we're calling them these days. Not there. So and you don't like Kobbie. So what? So also for Kobbie, we're trying to, spend 100 and something on Baleba. We're not getting him, but, we want Wharton. Kobbie's toast. Kobbie's toast in this system right now under this manager. He's done. And I'll say that now. I know people say it's early and this, that, and the other. This is what I say about the warning signs. He ain't going to get on that plane to England. He ain't going to get enough game time. Kobbie wouldn't blame him if he wanted a loan now. What's the point? Managers just told you you're competing with the captain. He's undroppable. He may as well just leave.
And this is the other part of it. This is when you go back to the so much focus on one way of playing. That's it. If you did have a coach like a Thomas Frank or what have you, would look at that yesterday and go, didn't really work. We'll change the system in the next game, and then Kobbie might get in, or someone else might get in, someone else come out. Like, it would be a lot more fluid when we know exactly what the formation's going to be, the system's going to be for the next game. We're already starting to do this. Well, that means he's not going to play. That means he probably can't play, or that means this person has to play because we don't actually have anyone else in that position.
Also, I'm going to be deadly honest. I'm just sick of seeing all these defenders on the pitch. Like, in my life, you want to get behind the system and wait. I'm just going to keep it a buck with you guys. I can't stop. I'm just looking at it and I'm like, every time we got the ball at the top end of the pitch, there just ain't enough red shirts, or white shirts, or black shirts, whatever we're playing in. There ain't enough Man United shirts going forward. And I look and I just see, like we always say, the U-shaped thing of just 3 centre-backs, a left back in Dorgu, essentially, left wing back, and Ahmad being converted into the right wing back, but deeper. Except it's crap. It's crap.
And do you know what it should be? It should be a situation where Flex, yeah. So when he's saying, when Marco Silva's saying that, and he's going, oh, you'd pin the wing backs back, and then you make sure you're protecting that. Then most other managers during the match would go, all right, okay, they've kind of sussed that out.
Exactly.
Let's switch to a back 4, or let's go to 4-4-2, or let's go to something different because they figured this out. So let's change and give them something a little bit different. But we won't do that. We won't do that because that's not what Ruben does.
No.
So then if they figure this out, then they figure this out, and that's it. And it's like, okay, game over. And look at like you said, with the chances we missed yesterday are if they'd have gone in, what have you. But the last 2 goals we have scored, if you include our preseason fixtures, have both been own goals. They were own goals from set pieces. There's an own goal against Fiorentina where it was a ball bundled in the back of the net from a corner, and it was the same against Fulham yesterday. So regardless of how good or bad the build-up play is, and it's creating chances and people aren't just finishing it, it's still, whatever way you slice it, not good enough to get the ball in the back of the net.
I don't know, man. I think if you take someone out of their strongest position and put them where they're not good, and now they perform even worse, that's on the manager. The manager is doing that.
But I think it goes in the word scapegoat, because scapegoat gives the idea that he's being blamed for all of it when it's not his fault entirely. If you're being made a scapegoat for something, that's like you're being unfairly blamed. Now, Bruno Fernandes can be unfairly blamed when he's playing well, but yesterday, a big chunk of that was on him. From a captain, you're held to a higher standard and whatever. I don't think
that's a bad performance.
I think it was an example of him being scapegoated.
But it is for me. It is in the bigger context of this is why everything's wrong, because he had a bad game. Even when Bruno plays in the normal 10, you can have a bad game and a stinker, and you say that was shit. You were rubbish. You gave the ball away so much. But he's being scapegoated in the sense of our manager has decided to take our best player, who's been our best player for the last 5 years, and put him in central midfield with a crap partner, and that's never going to work. For me, that makes
that's
Bruno
fair.
target number. I think that makes Bruno Fernandes target number one, because you've taken away all his strengths and hyper shown all of his weaknesses. That's what you've done as a manager now.
But then he can still be a leader, and he wasn't a leader yesterday.
Absolutely, that bit's not the scapegoat bit for me. Because that means I would, if I was saying he's scapegoat because of that, I would say, come on, he missed the penalty, man. Get off his back. Oh, come on, he gave the ball away a couple of times. I'm directing it more at the manager is making him, or should I say, will make him a scapegoat over this whole thing, and we're going to act like Bruno Fernandes now is an awful player. He's crap. Which, listen, some people think that. Some people think that already, to be fair. Yeah. But I do get what you're saying. It's not a scapegoat to suggest that he shouldn't be criticised for his crap performance yesterday. I was that interview afterwards, what are you doing? And to be real, to stare it down the barrel and just be honest, let's be honest. Like, someone said there, even with two central midfielders, is this going to work? Is that it's feeling like he ain't going to be able to improve this with this system, the way he plays it. Because Glasner plays this same system. Crystal Palace look excellent. Yeah. I mean, let's not act like this system can't be effective. Ruben was effective with this system in Sporting.
Glasner's doing it despite losing his players all the time, right? Oliver Glasner loses Michael Elise, still manages to win an FA Cup. Now he's losing Eberechi Eze, and he's still managing to get results. You know what I mean?
Still Gay might leave.
And they're not signing anyone, by the way. No. You know,
they're doing that with Will Hughes playing football, bro.
He's doing it, and with him as well, it's not a fluke. I mean, he's at Eintracht Frankfurt. He's winning Europa League, mate. You know, with Frankfurt. He's going to Palace. He's winning an FA Cup. He's a top, and he's a good communicator as well. It's not as if for him it's a fluke. And with how it's going at Palace, maybe I might actually have to try something, because it might be one of those ones where he just goes, you know what, I've had a bit of enough here. You know what I mean? I'm not being backed, or we just lost Eze, and he didn't look very happy with how that whole thing sort of played out.
Oh, he's fuming.
Because his thing was like, we should have got people earlier on in the window. We knew we were going to lose him. Why didn't we do that kind of thing?
And he's valid in saying that. He's also seen his HR team or whatever. Sorry, the office team, whatever, PR team, not be able to flip in, sort out their emails and do what they have to do and rob them of a flipping place in Europa League.
Because they basically just didn't even think they were going to get in Europe. So they decided not to file the paperwork.
So if anyone's got something to be flipping upset about, it's him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
No, exactly.